The fear of falling. People largely keep it hidden, but I think many people, even boulderers only a little off the ground, are afraid of falling. It's not just the threat of injury, even death, but also the existential fear of losing control. We might scream out and look uncool. Every time we lift a limb to move, we are more likely to peel off. A fall is loaded up. Do we know where we will end up? Are we ready to land well in safety? Is our belayer paying sufficient attention, rope not too slack? Is our pal actually spotting? If they are they ready to catch us by the waist and not jolt us back at the wall? Fears aren't rational. They can't just be wished away. There may indeed be something significant to fear if it all goes wrong. Practically reducing the physical jeopardy may help us relax too. Either way, if we get our head screwed on right, we really can lessen our fear of falling considerably. Not just by realistically mitigating the fall, but by our attitude. Let's take some typical situations in the gym. A beginner fresh to top roping is on a tight rope. Their arms are tired. They swing off. They failed. They clatter side on into the colourful lumps stuck out of the wall, bashing their legs. Ouch. B a keen amateur retries a 6B plus bogey route. So far, every time they've tried to lead it, they freaked out at a certain clip. Secretly, they suspect the belayer won't be ready to give them enough slack. This time, though, they hang in there and get the clip. It's rattled them nevertheless. Arriving at the crux soon after, the right hold to go for is clear, but they doubt they can lock off to get it. In fact, there's a few fears in the mix. If they do the move above, the fall will grow again. They've another clip to do, and then another set of moves. If they do fall, they are worried about smashing their body, but also of failing again while actually trying this time. The combination of trying then falling is too much to bear and much more visible. C a boulderer should be able to do the V4 they're on, strong, sure of the beater, but they've not practiced landing well. In any case, they don't want to dramatically roll over like a paratrooper. They're also worried about crushing one of the kids wandering about. The move could be done with a dyno, but they're unsure where they'll end up if they really go for it. D they've been in the comp squad for 3 years. Their skin is thin. Their mate is close to doing the problem, although they aren't competitive. The boulders are getting busier, the temperature's too high. This time they pull much harder, finally hit the hold, but ping off at the last moment. This list of quite different examples of fear of falling in action is not exhaustive, but enough to illustrate what's to be remedied. In fact, the remedy to all four involves similar ideas. There are three main ways that come to mind. A, making the fall itself less of an issue if it actually does happen is one way to reduce fear of it. B, knowing you won't fall is another. C, the central problem is the mind telling us terrifying stories. A way around this is to occupy it so this won't happen. All three involve a lack of control over what it is we're doing. An answer to all three at once is to understand the fall rather than avoid it. Falling is a skill to get better at. Fall is something to understand that can help us enormously to move as efficiently as we can. This not only makes us less prone to fall, but also reliably occupies our mind, so there's no space for worry to creep in. Like holding a spider is said to cure fear of spiders, I've heard reports that practicing falling off bigger and bigger distances helps reduce fear of falling. I've also heard the opposite. I think which outcome prevails depends on context and the quality of how it's done. Too much too soon, and confidence can be seriously compromised. However, take on the challenge in sensible increments in a situation of justifiable trust, and aversion therapy like this might well be valuable. Knowing how to fall. When we fall, it's along an arc that will end us in a certain spot. We can change the arc a little en route. I make an X of my body when I'm halfway through a fall that helps stabilize me in flight, so preparing me better for the landing. This is something useful to practice when you go for longer falls. A ground fall or swing in landing call for entirely different end shapes, but both shapes depend on the topography of the landing. Angles of limb and landing must match as well as possible. Feet up, missing any bolt-on holds in the gym, on lead, feet flat, knees bent, spin cured, roll anticipated onto the bouldering mat. The trick is to practice until you are good at this. I visualize light coming off the sharp holds of the landing so I can see them even when I'm actually not looking at them with my eyes. So I have a clear idea of what to avoid, picturing myself landing where these are not. Graduated exposure. Understanding the fall to reverse engineer it into counterfall. Set yourself out. Every move gives rise to an unique fall, a fall that happens along a distinct line that is very useful to know. If we know it, we are pre-armed to actually counter it by starting our move from somewhere along that line. The further down the fall line, the greater is the opportunity we will have to counter that fall. This requires significant imagination. I fantasize about the gremlin of gravity. Gravity pulls us away from the climb according to the array of holds we start on and where we want to finish. We can always ponder how we will fall off, where we are likely to end up. In fact, the worrier in us is already helping us, doing this for us. The fall is always on. Fall as something to meditate on that stops fear gaining a hold on us. I like to ask a question of the gremlin of gravity in a positive sense. Please help me on this move. This gives me from where and with what sort of shove would they push me in to make the move as easy as possible. If I'm clear about where I'm going, my imagination comes up with only one idea from where the gremlin, turned rogue, would best help me. If I pre-position my body right there, before I move, the fall has been fully repurposed as fuel for fine movement, and so unavailable to fuel any fear. Also, wear a helmet, thick trousers, that's an option. Between yourselves, practice belaying and spotting on an ongoing basis. Score each other, give honest, detailed, respectful feedback until you've every reason to trust each other. Practice technique. With a clear mind, you can go for moves full bore. If you do, your mate will have something to make them up, and if you do fall, the fullness of your mind will already be on. More of our immense human survival instinct already on the starting blocks this time. Don't grind your gears. Use oil.
Brilliant. Yeah.